Okay, this question, we have x is less than 1. This is going to be really important, as you'll see, and x cannot equal 0, also very important. Okay, well, we have quantity A, we have quantity B. What happens here? Well, let's check. We have x squared plus 1 versus x cubed plus 1. Same number in column A and column B, which is plus 1. So you can think of this as extraneous information, because whatever you end up getting here, you're adding the same thing. So we can drop 1 from both sides. So essentially, we're now comparing x squared to x cubed. Okay, well, what do? Plug in, remembering that x has to be less than 1 and x cannot equal 0. So x is less than 1. Good idea is to plug in a fraction. An easy fraction to plug in is 1/2. And when you're squaring and you're cubing, funky things happen with fractions. There's a difference between positive and then negative fractions as well. Oftentimes, something changes. What could that be? Well, let's see. Let's just plug in. Let's start with 1/2. If we plug that into A, we get 1/2 squared, which is 1/4. If we plug that into B, we get 1/2 to the 3rd power, which is multiplying 1 by itself 3 times, 2 by itself 3 times. That just gives us 1/8. Now, this can be tricky. Sometimes you go, oh, h bigger, but it's not because it's a fraction, so 1/4 is larger. So plugging in one value, I get that A is larger. Then I come down here to negative 1/2. I plug that in here, and I get positive 1/4. I come down here, and I get what? Well, I get a negative number, because when I multiply a negative times itself an odd number of times, because we're cubing it, remember? See this negative right here? It's going to come back to negative times negative is positive times, again, odd number of times. We have another negative, and so therefore we're going to get some value with a negative. It turns out to be negative 1/8, but we don't really care because we know as soon as x becomes negative, column B will always be negative. Column A, because when you have a negative times a negative is a positive, will always be positive. Therefore, plug in a number less than 0, you're always going to get column A is bigger. And when we plugged in a value between 0 and 1, we also saw column A was larger. So guess what? Column A always has to be bigger.